Imagine two people living on the same street. One earns $95,000 a year. The other earns just $52,000. The first owns luxury furniture, expensive gadgets, and drives a nice car. But they're only 2 paychecks away from financial disaster. The second lives with far less, yet has 18 months of expenses saved. So who's actually rich? The answer has nothing to do with income. It has everything to do with something hiding inside your home.
Solid income, but somehow you're still living right on the edge? Well, this deep dive into the source material is absolutely going to change how you view your physical environment. I want you to picture 2 apartments. They're in the exact same city, same neighborhood, with pretty much the exact same rent. Now, the first apartment belongs to someone pulling in about $95,000 a year. You walk inside and it is packed. We're talking a massive television, a $4,000 leather sectional, a kitchen literally overflowing with appliances still in their original boxes, and closets just bursting with clothes. But here's the catch. When this person checks their bank account, they get that familiar knot in their stomach. They are exactly 2 missed paychecks away from a total financial crisis. Now let's look at the second profile. This apartment belongs to someone earning just $52,000 a year. You walk inside and the first thing you notice is space. A modest couch, exactly the kitchen tools they actually use, and a spare bedroom that's, well, an actual bedroom, not a makeshift storage unit. When this person checks their bank account, they do it with calm confidence because they have 18 months of expenses saved up. The profound irony here? The person earning almost half as much has nearly 10 times the financial security. So why does the lower earner have 10x the security? I mean, it's the ultimate question, right? We are all so conditioned to think this is just a story about income, but it's really not. It's not like the higher earner has some secret gambling problem. They've just gradually, almost accidentally, accumulated a lifestyle that requires every single dollar just to keep it afloat. The lower earner, on the other hand, figured out that deliberate living creates a kind of financial margin that most high earners completely miss. Section 1. The hidden cost of stuff. Paying for things twice. To really understand how they built that margin, we need to look at the core thesis of this explainer, which is the hidden cost of stuff. Basically, every single thing you own costs you money twice. The price on the receipt? Yeah, that's just the entry fee. Let's break down this invisible second cost. First up, we've got storage fees. Our stuff takes up literal, physical square footage. Second, there's maintenance and upkeep. Take a boat, for instance. It generally costs about 10% of its total value every single year just in upkeep, even if it just sits right there in your driveway. Third, and honestly, this is wild, mental energy and stress. Researchers have actually found that visual clutter directly increases your cortisol levels. So your stuff is literally stressing you out in ways you can't even consciously perceive. And finally, opportunity cost. Every single dollar you have locked up in physical possessions is a dollar you're not investing. So if you lock $15,000 into this elaborate home gym setup, you didn't just buy a gym. You effectively lost out on $50,000 or more in future index funds over the next 15 years. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that $600 to $1,000 figure. That represents the implicit annual rent cost of simply storing a treadmill in a 20 square foot space in an average urban area. Think about that for a second. You're paying up to $1,000 a year in rent just to house a piece of exercise equipment that, let's be honest, probably functions as an oversized clothing rack most days. Once you actually see those hidden costs, you really can't unsee them. So how do we go about fixing it? Phase 1. Mindsets. Rethinking value. This brings us to Rule 1. Calculate the cost per use. Consider a $200 jacket that you end up wearing twice. That effectively costs you $100 per wear. But what about a $400 jacket that you wear 200 times? That drops down to just $2 per wear. The math just completely cuts right through the emotion and the slick marketing. In any meaningful sense, the expensive jacket is mathematically way cheaper. And when you apply this exact same logic to, say, a $300 kitchen gadget that you know you're only going to use twice a year, the whole logic of the impulse buy is just totally destroyed. Rule 2 is what we call the replacement test. I want you to look around your room right now. If a specific item you own just magically disappeared today, would you honestly spend your hard-earned cash to replace it? Like, would you genuinely go out to the store and buy another dusty bread maker or that fondue set you got 3 years ago? For the vast majority of items, the honest answer is absolutely not. We keep them purely out of inertia, and they are actively stealing your physical space, your mental energy, and your precious time. And that leads right into Rule 3 and a frankly staggering number, $200,000. That right there is the estimated lifetime wealth destruction caused by upgrading perfectly functional items just because we're, well, bored. People replace phones that work flawlessly just because the brand new one happens to have a slightly better camera. Actually, scratch that. It's not just phones. When you apply this constant upgrade culture across all categories, your cars, your furniture, your technology, over the course of a lifetime, the waste easily exceeds $200,000. It's a great reminder. Boredom is not a mechanical failure. Phase 2. Systems. Smarter spending. Of course, knowing all of this theory is only half the battle, right? We have to actually put it into practice. Because let's face it, human willpower completely depletes throughout the day, but environmental design, that is constant. So Rule 4 is all about manipulating the path of least resistance. You want to create massive friction for spending and absolute ease for saving. Spending friction means doing things like deleting your shopping apps and enforcing a strict 24-hour waiting rule for any non-essential purchase. That 24-hour rule alone eliminates roughly 70% of impulse purchases simply because the temporary desire fades away. Conversely, you create saving ease by setting up automatic transfers on payday before you even have a chance to see the money in your checking account. Make the good decisions automatic. Now, Rule 5 is surprisingly effective, even if it sounds a bit out there. Count your possessions. I know, it sounds obsessive, but it absolutely forces awareness. When you sit down, actually count, and realize you already own 47 shirts, buying another one suddenly feels really different. You aren't just treating yourself to a shirt anymore, you are bringing your vast collection to 48. The simple act of counting forces you to be aware and adds this immediate psychological friction to that next unnecessary purchase. And this brilliantly illustrates our next concept, Rule 6, rent or borrow before you buy. I love this quote. Avoid becoming a museum of past enthusiasm. I mean, how many of our closets are just filled with dusty ski equipment or totally abandoned photography gear? Always rent first. It perfectly tests whether your enthusiasm is genuine or just a passing phase, so you don't end up weighed down by the physical ownership of an abandoned hobby. This brings us to a crucial point. Rule 7. The lifestyle multiplier. You might think you're making a singular $5,000 purchase, like a boat or a home gym, but that single purchase usually triggers a massive cascade of supporting expenses. A gym needs specialized flooring, wall mirrors, and ventilation. A boat, it needs a trailer, off-season storage, and insurance. Before you know it, your $5,000 purchase quickly balloons into a $12,000 total ecosystem cost. The rule of thumb here is to always calculate the full multiplier before pulling the trigger. Phase 3, the end game, redefining wealth. So why on earth do people earning $300,000 a year often feel exactly as stressed out as those earning $80,000? The answer is Rule 8. Define enough before your income actually grows. If you don't define what a sufficient home, car, or wardrobe looks like in advance, you just enter this endless, exhausting race where your lifestyle expansion constantly outpaces your income. Setting a definitive finish line means that any additional income you earn flows directly into your savings and your financial freedom, rather than just inflating your lifestyle year after year. Which totally redefines how we look at Rule 9. Real wealth is not measured by the accumulation of visible possessions to impress the neighbors. Wealth is measured by optionality. Can you afford to leave a toxic job tomorrow? Can you take 6 months off for a sudden family emergency? Trading your liquid resources for physical objects literally means trading away your future life choices and your freedom. The money tied up in a shiny new car sitting in your driveway is equity that absolutely cannot fund a sudden career transition. Let's move to and see how this builds into our final habit. Rule 10, cyclical decluttering. You know how most people do a massive, exhausting annual purge? They feel great for a week, and then they just slowly accumulate it all right back? Well, cyclical maintenance prevents that frustrating boom and bust cycle. By doing small, weekly glances, monthly category checks, and quarterly trend reviews, you catch that sneaky accumulation early. It's all about sustainable maintenance, not an overwhelming, stressful annual purge. The virtuous money cycle, minimalism and wealth. All of these rules we've covered culminate in a really powerful conclusion that reveals the hidden two-way relationship between minimalism and money. I want to walk you through this cycle carefully because it's a game changer. Step 1, you spend less. Simple enough. Step 2, you save more. Step 3, you gain actual, tangible financial security. But here's the real magic of Step 4. Having robust savings actually cures the very insecurity that drives the urge to compulsively consume in the first place. Think about it. People often buy things just to temporarily fill an emotional void caused by, you guessed it, financial stress. When your bank account is strong, that emotional drive to buy status symbols simply dissolves. Which brings us to our final, somewhat provocative thought for you to chew on. Both of the lifestyles we looked at today at the very beginning, they're entirely available to you regardless of what your current income happens to be. The choice really just boils down to this. Do you want to own your possessions, or are you comfortable with your possessions owning you? Because the math, and absolutely the peace of mind, strongly favor the first option.